For more on this, I'm joined by Swaran Singh in New Delhi. He's a professor of international relations at Jawaharlal Nehru University. Professor, great to have you here with us on TRT World. Now, President Biden will host the leaders of Japan and the Philippines in Washington. What do you think could come out of this meeting?
I think this trilateral summit is novel and new in that sense, but this is fundamentally part of the larger US-China contestation, in which case Philippines has been facing a certain amount of very aggressive postures from China for about 15 months now. And in that sense, this could be also seen as part of presidential elections where President Biden has several questions to answer. First of all, retreat from Afghanistan was something that was creating difficulties. So the American focus shifted to Ukraine. Now, 2 years of Ukraine war is also ending in fatigue, and Congress is no longer willing to happily support President Biden on that. They moved to Israel now. Prime Minister Netanyahu is no longer listening. So therefore, I think need for United States to shift the focus back on China in South China Sea, where nothing recently new has happened. It is part of constant Chinese assertion of their sovereignty in South China Sea, which Philippines has been facing. And President Duterte, actually, the last president of Philippines, had given up on United States and moved to build proximity with Beijing. But now President Marcos, again, who came to the presidential palace to sort of revive relations with the United States, is interested in posing up to United States. And with Fumio Kishida, it's an annual usual summit meeting. But the trilateral format is interesting and new. And I think, therefore, it serves all three to shift the focus to their shared common challenge, which is the China challenge. But it is partly out of escape that some of these leaders are coming together. I don't see anything substantial coming out of this summit meeting.
Right. And Swaran, talking about the China threat, how big of a threat is it?
Definitely, China is now 20 trillion economy, and therefore it has enormous economic prowess, which it often converts into political influence. And of course, this has resulted in military modernization and, of course, gradual assertion in South China Sea. So fundamentally, that remains a challenge to Philippines, which, as I said, has been facing China's ire for about 15 months now on Second Thomas Shoal particularly. But United States increasingly has shown inclination to only supply weapons. And I think this is how far they will go, or once in a while, some kind of naval projections in terms of naval exercises in the region, which we see happening very often. But each of these countries will have to fend for themselves. They have to defend themselves on their own. The fact that all of these countries of Southeast Asia, Japan and Philippines, and now United States see China as a common shared challenge, they would like to have mutual parlays and share notes as to how they can work with each other in resolving that problem. But as I said, each of these nations are fundamentally driven by their own national interests, and therefore they will have to defend their own territories by themselves. This is no longer the time when we can expect United States to fight for anybody else in that sense. And therefore, I think even when it comes to Taiwan, which is another hot issue in the region, fundamentally both the acts that United States has passed in 1978, Taiwan Relations Act, and more recently in 2022, Taiwan Policy Act, fundamentally talks of supplying weapons. And I think in that sense, yes, it's not just only United States. I speak from India. India is also supplying weapons to Philippines. And in that sense, countries can help Philippines to strengthen its defense and to stand against China.
All right, Professor Swaran Singh, thanks very much for talking to us here on TRT World. Really appreciate your taking out the time.